South Africa's political landscape has been shaken. The government's proposal to increase value-added tax, or VAT, sparked outrage and division. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana initially proposed a staggered increase. The plan was to raise VAT from 15% to 16% over 2 years. This was intended to address a massive budget shortfall of 75 billion rand, approximately $4 billion. However, the proposal was met with immediate and fierce resistance from various sectors of society. Citizens already grappling with a high cost of living expressed deep concern. The proposed VAT hike was seen as a direct burden on ordinary South Africans. Many argued it would disproportionately affect the poor and vulnerable. Trade unions and civil society organizations joined the chorus of disapproval. They argued that the government should explore alternative avenues to address the budget deficit. These included tackling corruption and cutting wasteful expenditure. The proposed VAT increase ignited debates about income inequality and social justice. Critics argued that the government was prioritizing austerity measures over the needs of its citizens. They also argued that the VAT hike would further erode the purchasing power of the poor and exacerbate existing inequalities. The government, however, maintained that the VAT increase was a necessary measure to stabilize the economy and ensure fiscal sustainability. The public outcry against the proposed VAT increase revealed the deep economic anxieties within South Africa. It highlighted the urgent need for the government to address the concerns of its citizens. The government's handling of this issue would have significant implications for its credibility and its ability to maintain social cohesion. The proposed VAT increase sent shockwaves through South Africa's political landscape. The Democratic Alliance, or DA, a key coalition partner in the governing coalition, emerged as a vocal critic of the proposal. The DA argued that the VAT hike would stifle economic growth and disproportionately burden the poor and working class. They threatened to withdraw their support for the government if the proposal was not scrapped. The DA's opposition to the VAT increase placed the ruling African National Congress, or ANC, in a precarious position. The ANC had lost its parliamentary majority in the 2024 elections. This forced them to form a coalition government for the first time since the end of apartheid. The DA's stance on the VAT increase highlighted the challenges and complexities of coalition governance. It exposed the ideological differences within the coalition and the delicate balance of power that the ANC had to navigate. The ANC found itself caught between a rock and a hard place. On the one hand, they needed to address the budget deficit and demonstrate fiscal responsibility to appease international investors and credit rating agencies. On the other hand, they could not afford to alienate their coalition partners and risk the collapse of the government. The VAT increase had become a political hot potato, threatening to destabilize the already fragile coalition. The ANC's handling of the VAT increase would be a litmus test for its ability to manage the complexities of coalition politics. The party had to find a way to balance the competing interests of its coalition partners, the demands of the electorate, and the need to maintain economic stability. The stakes were high, and the consequences of failure were significant. In a dramatic turn of events, the South African government announced a reversal of its decision to increase the value-added tax, or VAT. The announcement came after weeks of intense public pressure, political opposition, and threats of legal challenges. This marked the first major policy U-turn for the ANC since forming the Government of National Unity after losing its parliamentary majority in the 2024 elections. The government's decision to back down on the VAT increase was seen as a victory for the opposition parties, civil society organisations and ordinary citizens who had vehemently opposed the move. The DA, which had threatened to pull out of the Government of National Unity over the issue, welcomed the reversal, hailing it as a triumph for the poor and the working class. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana, speaking from the IMF and World Bank spring meetings in Washington, defended his initial proposal but acknowledged the need to respond to public concerns. He emphasized the government's commitment to fiscal sustainability and announced that alternative measures would be explored to address the budget deficit. These measures included a combination of spending cuts and revenue-enhancing measures that would not disproportionately burden the poor. The VAT increase debacle exposed the fragility of the government of national unity and the challenges of coalition governance. It highlighted the need for greater consensus building and compromise among the coalition partners to ensure political stability and policy coherence. The government's ability to navigate these complexities would be crucial in restoring public trust and confidence in its ability to govern effectively. The reversal of the VAT increase has left South Africa's economy at a crossroads. While the decision has been welcomed by many, it has also raised concerns about the government's ability to manage the country's finances and implement sound economic policies. The government now faces the daunting task of finding alternative solutions to address the budget deficit without further burdening the poor or stifling economic growth. Economists have warned that the government must act swiftly and decisively to restore fiscal sustainability. They argue that failure to do so could lead to further credit rating downgrades, increased borrowing costs, and a loss of investor confidence. This, in turn, would have dire consequences for the economy, leading to job losses, higher inflation, and a decline in living standards. The government has announced that it will be implementing a range of measures to address the budget deficit. These include cutting wasteful expenditure, improving tax collection, and stimulating economic growth. However, these measures are likely to take time to have a significant impact, and the government will need to demonstrate its commitment to fiscal discipline in the meantime. The road ahead for South Africa's economy is fraught with challenges. The government will need to make tough decisions and implement difficult reforms to address the country's economic woes. The success of these efforts will depend on the government's ability to build consensus, restore public trust, and create an environment conducive to investment and economic growth.